Having over 1.3 billion inhabitants, India is a country with immense potential that accounts for roughly 20% of the global population. It's reasonable to assume that India would be a worldwide superpower, driving innovation, science, technology, and the arts. Given its wealth of natural resources, rich cultural legacy, and enormous human resource base. Undoubtedly, India possessed immense potential, but its performance on most global benchmarks has been at most passable. India falls well short of other big economies in certain categories, such as the quantity of Nobel Prize winners or highly regarded universities. Concerns over India's failure to realize its full potential in several areas, from the public services to the economic climate, from the education system to the cultural mindset, are mounting. In this video, we'll talk about some of the systemic challenges, cultural barriers, and mindset issues that have conspired to keep this vibrant country trapped in a cycle of mediocrity. But before we start with the chapters of this video, what are your thoughts on this issue? Let us know with some facts down below. Based on reports by esteemed professors at the Indian Institute of Management, or IIM, in Lucknow, India's economy has experienced a wild ride, with output and employment surging in the late 1980s and early 1990s, and experiencing a veritable jobless growth between 2004 and 2018, like the country's economic engine decided to take an eternal coffee break, leaving the poor laborers to fend for themselves. According to the report, the jobless rate rises in tandem with higher levels of education. In the Indian job market, it seems that your value decreases with more knowledge. In 2020 to 2021, the unemployment rates among the less educated and illiterate were 1.13% and 0.57%, respectively, making them the envy of society. Meanwhile, graduates were looking at a 14.73% unemployment rate. The Indian education system may have perfected the art of turning out extremely competent applicants who are about as useful as a chocolate teapot. According to Kaushik Basu, the former chief economist of the World Bank, most countries saw joblessness rise in 2020. But India's rate exceeded most emerging economies like Bangladesh 5.3%, Mexico 4.7%, and Vietnam 2.3%. And let's not forget the gender disparity in the labor force. The researchers found that in 2020 to 2021, the overall female workforce participation rate was 32.46%, 44.55 percentage points below that of men. Almost as if Indian employers have a secret club and the password is Y chromosome only. India's leapfrogging from a predominantly agrarian economy to a growing services industry is one factor contributing to the country's persistent unemployment despite the rapid growth. No other country of its size has services, not manufacturing-driven growth. High-end services like software and finance, staffed by highly skilled personnel, have been the driving force behind India's progress. Few industrial or factory employment that can employ a lot of unskilled or low-skilled workers have been available. India's education system and labor market are beset by structural and cultural problems that go beyond obvious problems. These factors contribute to the country's enduring acceptance of mediocrity. India's resistance to change and taking risks is one of the main contributing factors. The inflexible hierarchical society structure, which forbids independent thought and challenging authority, frequently serves to foster this worldview. The public's reverence for elders and authoritative figures creates a culture that is antagonistic to the creative thinking and daring that drive development in other parts of the world. The preference for conventional job pathways over more entrepreneurial ones, like engineering or medicine, further stifles India's potential for innovation. This risk-averse attitude, along with the deep-seated respect for authority and a reluctance to engage in constructive criticism, stifles the kind of creative problem-solving that is essential for social and economic advancement. Moreover, the Indian culture's emphasis on material wealth and social status above the pursuit of genius in one's chosen topic further solidifies the belief that mediocrity is acceptable as long as it leads to financial stability and social acceptance. This kind of thinking discourages people from attempting to push the boundaries of their abilities and undermines their passion for perfection. The climate that these ingrained sociological and cultural elements produce is unsuitable for the kind of revolutionary change that India needs to realize its full potential. It will be necessary to make a significant change in societal attitudes and conventions to address these underlying problems, which could be difficult given ingrained customs and beliefs. Regarding income inequality, there could be several causes behind India's growing economic disparity. The fact that 2021 saw one of the lowest rates of female involvement worldwide, just over 18%, exacerbates inequality in terms of wealth and income. The World Bank estimates that India's overall labor force participation rate in 2021 was as low as 46.3%, less than Pakistan's figure of 50.2%. Truthfully, since 2010, the overall labor force participation rate has been falling, reaching its lowest point in 2020 during the decade that helped to retain a significant portion of Indians in poverty. Yes, India's economy has grown significantly over the years, but the country's poverty rate has not decreased despite this affluence. The services and industrial sectors could not produce jobs despite the strong economic development. India is a nation that loves to make big announcements and plans, but its track record of carrying it out is as a rickshaw during a hurricane. See the infamous Make in India campaign. Launched in 2014 to transform India into a global manufacturing hub, the initiative was supposed to create millions of jobs and boost the country's economic growth. 5 years later, India's share of global manufacturing output was a measly 3%. Currently, the value is around 13%, not exactly the Make in India revolution we were promised. Include the far-reaching Digital India initiative, which was introduced in 2015 to transform the nation into a society empowered by technology. Although there has been significant progress made by the program in areas like digital payments and internet connectivity, overall the results have not been very impressive. Only over 45% of Indians have access to the internet as of 2022, and the nation continues to trail below the world average in some important digital metrics. Regarding the ongoing problem of land reforms, several administrations have attempted but failed to modernize the nation's antiquated land laws. India's farmers are still enmeshed in uncertainty and unproductive practices as a result of the collusion of outdated land records, bureaucratic red tape, and strong vested interests. The pattern is obvious. India likes making lofty declarations, but the execution frequently lags when it comes to follow-through and actual implementation. It's an issue that impedes social welfare programs and infrastructure development alike, and it plays a significant role in preventing the nation from reaching its full potential. If India has mastered anything, it's the art of red tape shenanigans and bureaucratic buffoonery. The public services industry in the nation is a complete circus of red tape, corruption, and blatant incompetence. The corruption situation in India is depicted in a negative light in the India Corruption Research Report 2023. As per the report, 88% of the participants think that India is a corrupt nation, and 82% of them have seen corruption firsthand. The research pinpoints several important elements causing the widespread corruption. These include deficient political and administrative processes, antiquated administrative frameworks, a lack of transparency, and a patchy application of anti-corruption legislation. In addition, respondents cited the inefficiency of India's anti-corruption courts and agencies, as well as a criminal connection between powerful businessmen and politicians. Regrettably, 96% of respondents thought that Indian anti-corruption organizations were dishonest, and a comparable percentage said that politicians and bureaucrats involved in corruption were not sufficiently punished. Many respondents believed that the Indian legal system was involved in aiding the wealthy and powerful to avoid justice, and they supported the prosecution of corruption cases in foreign tribunals. India has to face its mediocrity issue head-on if it's to realize its enormous potential, even though doing so will not be simple. Everywhere from schooling to the workplace to the entrepreneurial ecosystem to cultural attitudes, fundamental adjustments are required. To begin with, a significant reform of the educational system is required, shifting the focus from memorization and test scores to the development of critical thinking, creativity, and a sincere love of learning. The existing propensity to submit to authority and avoid upsetting people should be replaced with a culture of constructive criticism and ongoing progress. There needs to be a significant change in the business environment. Legislators ought to implement changes that promote competition, encourage entrepreneurship, and protect intellectual property rights. This could help unleash the latent innovative potential of India's young population, who are too often pushed towards the safe but uninspiring path of inheriting the family business. Comment below what your thoughts are on this. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video.